So I did my project on trigonometry, and the learning objective is to learn about the trig ratios. And the success criteria is students will be able to identify all 6 trig ratios and use them to find the missing side of a triangle. The first part you need to know is that it works for a right triangle, and that if this is your given angle, then the side across from it would be the opposite side, and the side connected by the right angle, like on the side to it, would be the adjacent, and the longest side, or the side across from the right angle, would be the hypotenuse. So the easiest way for me to remember the trig functions is SOHCAHTOA, or some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on acid. It's like a thing to remember because it all starts with the letters. So it just means that like sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. And they all have like different ones. So cosecant is the opposite of sine, secant is the opposite of cosine, and cotangent is the opposite of tangent. So to find the ratios of these, this was the given angle right here, and so I labeled the sides. So if sine was opposite over hypotenuse, I would just get the opposite side and put it over hypotenuse, so it would just be 3 over 5. Since cosecant is the opposite, it would be 5 over 3. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so I would find the adjacent and the hypotenuse and do 4 over 5. And then the secant would be hypotenuse over adjacent, so it would be 5 over 4. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so I would get the opposite and put it over the adjacent side, which would be 3 over 4, and then the opposite, cotangent, is adjacent over opposite, and so I would do 4 over 3. So this next problem is a word problem for finding the missing side when all you know is one angle and one side. So as a person is flying a kite that is 125 feet in the air at a 45-degree angle, how far off the ground is the kite? And so I drew a little diagram of what it gave us, and this is the given angle, so this would be the opposite side, and this would be the hypotenuse. And this is what they gave us, and this is what we're trying to find. And so I use SOHCAHTOA all the time to try and figure out which one to use, and since I'm looking for the opposite and the hypotenuse, we're going to use sine. Okay, so I set up this problem, sine of 45 equals x over 125, because the angle is 45, and then you have the opposite over the hypotenuse, which is x over 125. So what I usually do is I put it all over 1, and then I cross multiply. So I get x equals sine of 45 times 125. And so you can't really do that without a calculator because you have the sine. So I use my calculator, and you have to make sure it's in degree mode right here. So just press enter. And then so you do sine of 45, and you close the parentheses, and you multiply that by 125. And you get 88.3883465. So I'm going to estimate that and say that x is 88.39. And so it makes sense because the hypotenuse is the longest side, and this one should be shorter than that. And so this would be your answer. So here's just another normal problem where you're given this angle and 2 sides so one that you want and one that you are given. And so this I can tell is the opposite side, and this would be the adjacent, and since I'm using opposite and adjacent, I'm going to be using tangent. Okay, so the angle is 30, so I'm going to write tangent of 30 equals the opposite over adjacent, which would be x over 6. Okay, So again, I'm going to put it over 1 and cross multiply to get x is tangent of 30 times 6. One more time I'm going to have to use my calculator, but this time I'm going to press clear. I'm going to use tangent of 30 times 6 equals 3.46 approximately. So that would be your answer. Thank you for watching. I hope I could help a little bit.